This is going to be one of the most comprehensive videos for West Linn on YouTube. If you're thinking about moving to this area, if you're looking at homes for sale in this area, maybe you're not familiar with some of the neighborhoods, I'm going to cover every single neighborhood in this video. And I've even got a bonus for you at the end that you won't find in the neighborhoods of West Linn. So by the end of this video, you're going to have a much greater sense for how the area is laid out. And I'll also cover some of the amenities and the pros and cons of these neighborhoods. All that starts now. Hey everyone, Seth Marchant with Home Team Brokers here, coming to you today from West Linn, Oregon. We're about 20-25 minutes south of Portland in Clackamas County. Population about 27,000 people. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to cover every single neighborhood in this video, and what better place to start than in downtown West Linn, which is known as Willamette. Willamette, as well as a few other neighborhoods in West Linn, used to be its own town, its own municipality. Eventually it was annexed by West Linn at some point and became the downtown. So this is going to be one of the older areas. There's a lot of homes here built well over 100 years ago. So if you're looking for an older, maybe something a little bit more charming, bungalow, a few Victorians, some craftsmen, that type of home, maybe 1,500, 2,500 square feet, you're gonna find a lot of those here. The downtown has a ton of great shops and restaurants. There's a lot of events that happen down here. In fact, the farmers market is taking place here today. People are setting up for it right now. And that's probably one of the biggest pros for people that live down here in Willamette, is the walkability. All the events, you've got Willamette Park just down the street, right on the Willamette River, area named after the Willamette River, of course. But all those things also draw in a fair amount of congestion too. You'll see oftentimes signs in people's yards that say no parking or don't park here, because the congestion can get so bad and there's not a ton of parking, or at least not enough parking to accommodate everybody. So consequently, people tend to come down here to Willamette and usually end up parking, you know, maybe in front of somebody's house or in front of somebody's driveway where they're not supposed to. So that's probably the biggest con, biggest kind of downside or disadvantage for people living down here, is the congestion and some of the things that come along with that. But I'm sure most people that live here will tell you all the advantages are definitely going to be much greater than that slight downside. All these neighborhoods are going to feed into Willamette High School. The primary school here is Willamette Primary School. There is a new middle school coming in, which is going to be finished here in the next year or so. Athey Creek Middle School, which is just about a mile up the road. And the road that goes through Willamette is Willamette Falls Drive. Pretty much all of the homes and everything that you see that we're going to talk about here today in West Linn are going to be single family homes. Not going to find a whole lot of condos or apartments or attached units in West Linn. There are some, and I will point those out when we encounter those, but mostly we're going to be looking at single family homes. I'm going to walk you through some of these neighborhoods. I'm going to drive you through some of these neighborhoods, and I'm also going to show you some drone footage. Like I mentioned, by the time you finish this video, you're going to have a much better sense of how the area is laid out. All right, starting off up in the air here, right where we left off at the end of Willamette Falls Drive. Down on the left, you see Willamette Garage, which is West Linn's food carts. It's the newest addition to the area, really popular. Nobody there right now because it's closed, but once it opens, usually it's pretty tough to find a seat, so you should want to go early. Got a handful of shops and storefronts on the left here. Just beyond that is Ale and Cider House on the left, and what you see is pretty much it. There's only a few blocks here in Willamette in downtown West Linn. On the right side, a few more restaurants, J. Willie's, sushi, Mexican, 1933 is a great restaurant. A little Cooperstown coming up on the right hand side. Same owners as Icon Construction, really prominent in the West Linn community. On the left, you've got Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. My brother-in-law works there. Shout out to all the great people working there. And then looking up in the air here, you can see kind of in the back, that's I-205. The hill on the left is where we're going to go next. Looking to the right, we're going to be looking towards the Willamette River. And this is where you're going to find a lot of the houses here, a lot of the residential down in the downtown area of West Linn. Now you can kind of start to see the Willamette River out there in the back. And actually, this is where the Tualatin River meets the Willamette. You can't quite see it, but where the road bends up there, you'll encounter a bridge where there's another park, Fields Bridge Park, that goes over the Willamette. That hill in the background is Pete's Mountain. We'll talk about that towards the end of this video. So looking down through here, through Willamette, I'm also going to take you down the road and give you a little bit of a closer look at some of these homes. But looking down through this neighborhood, we'll work our way down towards Willamette Park. Now, if this is kind of your first time getting an introduction to West Linn, all of West Linn is great. This area is particularly desirable because you're right there in the downtown. You also have the river right there. Like we just saw, I-205 is right there as well, so you have quick access to the freeway. Maybe one of the small cons of this area, as you can kind of see down there, no sidewalks. Again, a lot of this was developed well over 100 years ago. And the no sidewalks kind of ties in with the parking issues that people have. Sometimes not having sidewalks, you might get somebody parking a little bit more so in your yard than in your road. So one of the very few downsides to this area. Panning to the left, we're going to see Willamette Primary School here in just a moment. So another pro for this area. A lot of people living here, their kids, they can actually walk to the elementary school here. And then we're going to start to see I-205 in the back here, and then that hill that we'll see just above, kind of in the upper right hand corner here in just a moment, that is where we are going to go next. We're going to visit the neighborhoods of Savannah Oaks, Barrington Heights, Parker Crest, Hidden Springs, and Rosemont Summit. All right, let's head up there now. All right, so now here we are at the top of the hill. This is the 10th Street exit off of I-205. So you just saw where we came from, Willamette. Now on the other side of I-205, the neighborhoods that we're gonna cover in this section is going to be Savannah Oaks, which is on the left side of Salamo. So if you're going up that main road, Salamo Road, up the hill, Savannah Oaks will be on the left side. On the right side towards the bottom, you have Barrington Heights. Just above that, you have Parker Crest. And then just beyond Savannah Oaks and Parker Crest, on the other side of Rosemont, we're going to cover Hidden Springs and the Rosemont Summit neighborhood. Now where I'm at, the top of the hill is sort of the anchor for all of those neighborhoods. There's a strip mall up here with a Safeway. You can see right there in the background. City Hall is also up here. Got a handful of shops, restaurants, stores here in the strip mall. Newest thing here is Killer Burger. People are excited for that, always excited for a new restaurant. So first neighborhood we're going to talk about just below us, Savannah Oaks. If you're moving to West Linn, just statistically speaking, chances are probably greatest that you'll end up in Savannah Oaks. There tends to be more inventory in that part of West Linn than really anywhere else. Right now there's about a dozen homes on the market that are currently active. There's quite a few that are pending. The homes there are going to range about 2,500 to maybe 4,000 square feet. Typical lot size, probably 6,000 to 7,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet. Price in the neighborhood of 700,000 to $1 million or so. You're gonna find a lot of 4 and 5 bedroom homes in this neighborhood, and it's all single family homes. The entire neighborhood feeds into Trillium Primary School, which is the newest school in the area. It's about 10 years old. All of the schools in West Linn at every level are very highly rated. West Linn is a place where people move specifically for schools. And so what happens is families move in, kids go through the school district, and then they move out. And some of the best homes for families, as far as size and affordability goes, at least for affordability for this area, tend to be in Savannah Oaks. So the turnover tends to be a lot higher there. So there's often a lot of homes on the market in Savannah Oaks neighborhood. The homes in Savannah Oaks were built in the last few decades, a lot of them built about 20 or 30 years ago. There's one newer subdivision that was finished about a year ago by the Toll brothers. I think there's maybe about 20 or so homes in there. There's one current subdivision being built right now by David Weekly Homes. That'll be about a dozen homes coming here towards maybe the end of 2023 or maybe 2024. They broke ground so far, just getting started. So you'll find a lot of the types of homes that people are typically looking for in West Linn in Savannah Oaks. Maybe one of the downsides of that area, as you're gonna see, again, being up on a hill, a lot of sloped lots. So if you're looking for a flat lot, it's gonna be tough. You're gonna find a lot of slope in that neighborhood. All right, so now driving through that neighborhood, again, I wanna give you kind of a feel for what these houses look like, what these lots look like. Because of the slope, and you can see just, I think probably just from this video, you can kind of get an idea of how steep it can be in some of these areas. Because of the slope, you're going to find a lot of these houses have decks, large decks, to maximize your space and have some actual level ground. Not a whole lot of backyards here. We'll also go through here in just a moment the Toll Brothers neighborhood. I mentioned that's the newest subdivision that was built here, just finished about a year ago. These started I think they were listed at like the high 800s. I don't think anything actually closed though under $1 million. Pretty distinct homes, a lot of like modern farmhouse, modern contemporary. So Toll Brothers houses usually stand out. You're going to find similar homes in other new subdivisions, like in Happy Valley, for example. And I'll also show you real quick that new subdivision for David Weekley Homes. I think they have one home sold in there so far. So now we're up in the air at the top of the hill. One thing to point out just below, if you're wondering what that little community is right there, that is Cascade Summit Apartments. Like I mentioned, not a whole lot of apartments in West Linn. That's probably the biggest community of apartments in West Linn. I actually used to live there about 20 years ago. I had a great experience. It was great. I think a lot of people that still live there, from what I hear, is great. So if you're looking for a rental, you might look to Cascade Summit. Just below what you're seeing now up in the air, that is that Toll Brothers subdivision that we just drove through. So we're now looking down the hill back towards Willamette, back towards I-205. You can actually kind of see the Willamette River in the upper right-hand corner there. So moving down this hill, really this entire hill is going to be residential. You're not going to find much commercial on this side of the hill. If you go to the other side where we're going to go next, where you'll find Sunset, Bolton, Highway 43, you're going to find a lot more of a mix of commercial and residential. Whereas here, like I said, it's just all residential. We've got a handful of smallish parks. Some of the bigger parks we'll see will be coming up here in just a moment. One right behind that Safeway, and then one on the other side on Highway 43. And by the way, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new to this channel living in Oregon, make sure and subscribe to us so you can see more of our videos every single week. And as licensed brokers in the state of Oregon, as much as we like making these videos, we'd love to help you move here. So if you're thinking about buying a home, you can call us, text us, email us, or click the link below if you want to hop into our calendar and schedule a Zoom call with us. Now we're going to go across the street, across Salamo to the other side of the hill into Barrington Heights. Barrington Heights is going to be the most exclusive neighborhood on our list, maybe with the exception of, like I mentioned, I've got a little bonus for you at the end. Homes in Barrington Heights built around the same time as Savannah Oaks in the last few decades or so, kind of like the late 90s, early 2000s, around that time. You're going to find some of the biggest homes in West Linn in this neighborhood. So not a whole lot below 3,000 square feet, probably going to be mostly ranging 3,000 to 5,000 square feet and up. Not uncommon to find a home maybe 6, 7, or 8,000 square feet in Barrington Heights. As far as price goes, there's a few homes on the market right now in the 900s. That's probably about as low as you're gonna find. A lot of the homes are going to be just over $1 million and up. All right, so now down on the ground, driving through the neighborhood of Barrington Heights. As you can see, all of these homes are going to be much larger. Like I said, very few will you find below 3,000 square feet. Lots are also going to be significantly larger. You're going to find some level lots, or at least lots that have been leveled too. So you have a lot more land that you can work with here in Barrington. Also going to find some lots that have sport courts and swimming pools, as you'll see as we go up in the air from the drone shots here in just a moment. Won't find a ton of swimming pools throughout the Portland metropolitan area. This is one place where you might actually find them. Most of these homes were built around the same time as the rest of the homes on the hill were, around the 90s or so. There's one small little development in here. It was maybe 7 or 8 homes that was built about 10 years ago for the Street of Dreams. If you don't know, Street of Dreams happens once a year in the Portland metropolitan area, where half a dozen, 7, 8 homes are highlighted sort of as some of the best of what some of the builders here in Portland offer. All right, so now up in the air here, like I said, you can see some of these larger lots, not totally flat, you know, but you can see some of them leveled off and do actually have some flat space. This area has been notorious for places for Portland trailblazers to reside over the past few decades. There's been a handful of blazers that have lived in here. There's even one house in here that was dubbed the Blazer House. I'm familiar with the property. When I was there, it was not owned by a blazer, but apparently it's been owned by a handful of Portland trailblazers in the past. And it's been on and off the market quite a bit over the years. Now there actually is one new subdivision being built in there right now that will be 8 homes. It's called Willow Ridge. These will be 10,000 to 15,000 square foot lots by Icon Construction, which is a local builder, advertised as starting in the high 800s. I'm gonna guess if it's in the high 800s, you might be talking about floor plans that are maybe just under 3,000 square feet. Like I said, you're not gonna find a lot in Barrington Heights under $1 million. So probably starting at high 800s, but they'll probably finish quite a bit over that. Moving back up the hill from Barrington Heights towards Parker Crest. Parker Crest is gonna kind of sit right behind that strip mall with the Safeway that's just across the street from us. This is also a good area to find a fair amount of inventory. There's currently about a half dozen homes on the market in this area. You will also find some smaller single family homes as well as some attached units. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of that in West Linn. You will find some of those in Parker Crest, and those prices are going to be maybe mid to high fours typically. You might see some in the fives or so. Single family homes, you won't find much under 700. Kind of like Savannah Oaks, you're gonna range maybe 700 to about $1 million or so, 2,500 square feet to 3,500 square feet or so. Again, this is a lot of the types of homes that a lot of people with families that are moving to West Linn for. You've got one of the better parks here in Tanner Creek Park, right behind the Safeway in Parker Crest. Do a fair amount of events there, movies in the park, concerts in the park, things like that. I'll get you some drone footage here in just a moment to give you a better feel for that park. It's definitely one of the better parks in the area. Now, Parker Crest and Barrington Heights are mostly going to feed into Sunset Primary School. Some of that area will feed into Trillium though. You can refer to North Clackamas School maps to show you exactly where that boundary is, or I'll throw a link in the description. Kitty corner from Parker Crest is going to be the Hidden Springs neighborhood. Homes there were developed around the same time as like Savannah Oaks, so early 90s or so. So you're gonna see like a lot of homes that are 20 or 30 years old. About the same size too, 2,500 to 3,500 square feet. Right now, there's actually only 2 homes that are active on the market in Hidden Springs. There typically are more homes, because again, these are a lot of the types of homes that people are looking for when they move to West Linn. And that neighborhood is going to be right next to Trillium Primary School. So all those people are gonna feed into Trillium. They also have Hidden Springs Ranch Recreation Association. You got a swimming pool, basketball court, tennis court. You've got a handful of neighborhood swimming pools in this area, which is not too common for Portland in general, for Oregon in general. If you're looking for a house with a swimming pool, you're gonna find some of those in Barrington Heights and one of the next places we're gonna look at, which is Rosemont. And you'll see some of that from the drone footage. Now, homes in Hidden Springs, maybe a little bit less. Might be closer to like the 7s, 800s, maybe not quite getting up into the millions. All right, so now we'll go through the Hidden Springs neighborhood. One thing you'll notice, and you probably noticed this throughout the neighborhoods we're going through on the hill here, lots and lots of 3-car garages. So if you always wanted that 3-car garage, a lot of these homes, as you can see, are going to have that extra space. And maybe as you can also see, being on top of the hill, going to find more flat lots. So if you're looking to get away from that slope, maybe you want to set up a basketball hoop, you want to avoid those hills, this is going to be a place where you can do that. And I'll take you up in the air here through real quick through Hidden Springs. You're going to see a Trillium Primary School. This entire neighborhood will feed into Trillium. The road you can kind of see in the background with the traffic, kind of in the upper left-hand corner right now, that is Rosemont Road. Sort of a major road that you'll probably become accustomed to if you live in West Linn. So Rosemont's going to run all the way down towards Sunset and towards 43, and then go all the way over to Stafford towards Lake Oswego. So panning to the left, we're looking more towards the direction now of where we just were, where I was standing, where that Safeway is. Just beyond those trees is actually where the Trillium Primary School is. And then just beyond that, maybe half a mile or so, is the small neighborhood of Rosemont. It's kind of the last neighborhood that we're going to cover up here on the hill. So this kind of wraps up and gives you a sense for the hill. Continuing to move the direction that we're facing now, we'll head towards the Sunset neighborhood, going down the hill towards where the high school is and Highway 43. Also just below that building, if you're wondering, that's also Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. Like I mentioned, up here, it's pretty much just residential, not a whole lot of commercial with the exception of things like that. Another thing I would say about the hill and the next place that we're going to go to over off of Highway 43, West Linn does have a little bit of a fragmented feel to it. The people that live up here on the hill in these neighborhoods are mostly doing their shopping around that Safeway and that strip mall, and then also going down to Willamette where we started. You might get some people going over to the other side of the hill down on Highway 43, but vice versa, people that live where we're going to go next down on Highway 43, maybe not coming up to the hill as often. You're going to get closer to Lake Oswego, so some of those people are going to start doing some of their shopping, and the restaurants that they frequent, they're going to start heading the opposite direction towards Lake Oswego. You'll see where all that is next. Peeking out there above now, you can see the Willamette River, and that's where we're panning towards Highway 43, Sunset, Bolton, and moving towards Lake Oswego. Before we do, real quick, we're going to cover the Rosemont Summit neighborhood next. Now, across from that is going to be Rosemont. Rosemont is going to be a little bit smaller. There's currently a couple homes on the market. You're going to find some larger homes there, also homes with swimming pools, kind of similar to like Barrington Heights. You're also going to find some homes there with larger lots, quarter acre, even half acre lots. A lot of the lots through Savannah Oaks and Hidden Springs are going to be 6,000–7,000 square feet, maybe up to 10,000 square feet. So not small, but not big lots, not the type of lots that you could fit like a swimming pool, sport court, stuff like that. And the Rosemont neighborhood is also home to Uplandlander Park, which is really just a big field, a couple of baseball diamonds. You could go play some soccer out there. Nothing kind of special, especially compared to a lot of the other great parks here in West Linn, but I want to point this park out to kind of give you a feel for the vibe and the preferences of the people that live in West Linn. So this park was owned by the West Linn Wilsonville School District. They had plans to do something with it, don't know what it was, but those fell through. They decided to sell the property. A developer bought it. I guess a lot of the people that live in West Linn weren't necessarily aware that the school district owned this property or was going to sell this property, and really didn't want a developer coming in and developing that land. They prefer just to keep it as a field and as a baseball diamond, because a lot of kids and families use that space. So they got a measure passed on a ballot, and then a bond was issued, and so now the city has purchased that property and has left it as a park. And I mentioned that to you because that's what you should probably expect with the town of West Linn. A little bit of NIMBYism in there, but maybe that's a preference for some people. Some people prefer to have a little bit less development and to have some more green spaces. Now you're going to pay for that, of course. That's going to show up on your property taxes. You're going to find bonds that show up on your property taxes. And for me, for my property taxes, that probably increased my property taxes by about 20% last year. So not a small number. You're going to pay to have the nice schools and to keep parks and to do things like they did with Uplandlander when you live in an area like this. So property taxes are going to be a little bit higher. That's going to be one reason why, and I just wanted to point that out to you. All right, now we'll take you down on the ground through the neighborhood of Rosemont Summit. Not going to look, quite frankly, probably a whole lot different than where we've been. Once we get up in the air here in just a moment with some drone footage, you'll kind of be able to see some of these larger lots, but not a whole lot of distinction, quite frankly, between like Rosemont Summit, Hidden Springs, and surrounding Parker Crest. Like I said, once you get on the other side of the hill down towards Sunset, it's going to be a little bit different. That area was developed quite a bit before this was, so you're going to see some older homes there, and that's why, again, I've kind of broken this up, and like I mentioned, West Linn is a little bit fragmented in that sense. Major road that you're seeing down below there is Rosemont Road, referenced a few times. That was the road, kind of the busy road that we saw in the background from Hidden Springs. So this takes you all the way past Hidden Springs, all the way to Stafford and to Lake Oswego if you want to go there. Not too much undeveloped land in this specific area. There's some more undeveloped land towards Hidden Springs, so don't anticipate a whole lot of new construction, at least no new big subdivisions in Rosemont Summit anytime in the near future. Some of Rosemont Summit will feed into Sunset Primary. Some of Rosemont Summit will feed into Bolton Primary. Now next we are going to go on the other side of the hill over to Highway 43, where we'll find the Sunset and the Bolton neighborhoods. West Linn High School is right in between those two, and then we'll look at Robinwood, little tiny neighborhoods of Marylhurst and Skyline Ridge as well. All right, now we're on the other side of the hill, just off of Highway 43. The remaining neighborhoods, with the exception of the bonus at the end, are all going to be off of Highway 43. That's Sunset, Bolton, Robinwood, and then a couple small communities of Marylhurst, which is right across the street from where I'm at, and Skyline Ridge. You know, real quick about Highway 43, you're going to find a lot of restaurants, a lot of shopping there. You've got a Market of Choice, which is a local grocer. They sort of describe themselves as a fresh, health-conscious, affordable grocer. Going to be a little bit more expensive than your other two options, which is Safeway, and there's a Walmart neighborhoods market, but maybe not by much. So a lot of people that live in those neighborhoods that I just mentioned, Sunset, Bolton, Robinwood, a lot of them are going to be doing their shopping right off of 43. If we continue along 43, just a few minutes up the road is Lake Oswego, where you've also got a lot of great stores, a lot of great restaurants. A lot of people that live over here most likely also frequenting Lake Oswego. There are farmers markets on a Saturday. It's in downtown Lake Oswego in Millennium Plaza. It's probably one of the better farmers markets in the area. So people that live in this area kind of get the best of both worlds of West Linn and Lake Oswego. Now, one downside about Highway 43 is that it is a highway. It's just a two-lane highway, not much of a highway, but because it's a highway, it's managed and maintained by the Oregon Department of Transportation. So if you come here, or if you've been here and you wonder why this road that goes through this amazing town, this beautiful town of West Linn, has so many potholes and is in such poor condition, it's because it's maintained by the state rather than by the city. Now, the neighborhood of Sunset is one of those neighborhoods like Willamette that used to be its own community or its own municipality at one point. So it's an older, more established area. You're going to find a little bit more of a mix of residential and commercial in Sunset and on into Bolton as well. Going to be different than the last neighborhoods that we came from: Savannah Oaks, Parker, Crest, Barrington Heights, Hidden Springs, Rosemont Summit. That's all residential, with the exception of that strip mall and the Safeway up at the top of the hill. Going to be different over here on 43. A little bit more of a mix of commercial and residential. As far as the housing market goes, when I checked this morning, Sunset, there was 8 single-family homes on the market. They're going to range from the $600,000 mark, might get up into the millions. Homes that are a little bit less expensive, especially being, despite being right next to Barrington Heights. Sunset is definitely going to be a place where you can find maybe a more affordable home, which sometimes people, sometimes you get that question: can I find an affordable home in West Linn because West Linn is so expensive? Well, average price points in Portland right now is like low fives, so like maybe say $525 or so. Usually there's going to be at least 1 or 2 single family homes in West Linn that are right around that price point. Going to be a little bit older, might be a little bit smaller, might have a little bit of a deferred maintenance, but if you want to get into West Linn, you definitely can. If you're a renter, there are apartments in Sunset as well. You know, one thing I would say about this area down off of Highway 43, it's all very wooded, but it's a little bit more wooded. You might find a little bit more old growth down here, and you're going to see some of that from the drone footage. And if you're looking at a map, you probably notice there's a nature preserve, there's a wilderness park, and there's a ton of trails. That's also where Sunset Primary School is, very highly rated. And just right in between Sunset and across over on the other side of Highway 43, that's where the high school is. That's where West Linn High School is. So getting over 43 on the other side is where you're going to get into Bolton, the Bolton neighborhood. That's where the Market of Choice is. Being right there on the river, you're really going to find a variety of homes, anywhere from homes that fall into, like I mentioned, into that starter price point. You're also going to find some very expensive homes because you're right there on the river, and there's some really kind of estate type properties, gated properties that are easily going to go up into the 7 figures. All right, now we're going to get down on the ground and drive around through the Sunset neighborhood. Probably can't do this neighborhood or give you a feel for this neighborhood as quickly as some of the other neighborhoods, because like I said, that you're going to find some more variation here. I noticed I do have a lot of footage here of kind of maybe some slightly larger than average homes, and you'll see some more of those 3-car garages. But you're also going to find some smaller homes, some mid-century, some ranch homes in Sunset. Those are going to be the homes that you'll find closer towards that average price point. This is just on the hill, really kind of right down, if you're looking at a map, from Rosemont Summit and kind of on the other side of Barrington Heights. Right kind of just back behind Sunset Primary School and just a couple of minutes away from the high school. After this, we're going to head over to the other side of 43, where you saw that drone footage from Market of Choice just a moment ago, and we're going to run through the Bolton neighborhood. All right, now down in the Bolton neighborhood, similar to Sunset and Willamette, in that at one point these were their own municipalities, were developed quite a long time ago. Not going to find sidewalks in all of these neighborhoods, similar to Sunset and Willamette. You know, this is not a master plan community. So with that, like I mentioned, you're going to find quite a wide variety of homes here and a wide variety of price points as well. The river is just minutes away, so people that are living here can access the river, and there's a ton of parks. One of the great things that you're going to see, probably one of the best parks in West Linn, is Mary S. Young Park, which divides the Bolton neighborhood and the next neighborhood that we're going to go to, which is Robinwood. Here's our drone footage of Bolton. This is facing towards Lake Oswego, facing towards Marylhurst, which is where I was walking around just a moment ago. Like I said, river right here, so a fair amount of places to access the river. Can't access it everywhere. A lot of private property along here, and those are some of the properties that I mentioned that are going to be like the multiple 7 figures. A lot of downsides to this area, whether it's Sunset or Bolton or Robinwood, the next neighborhood that we're going to go to. The one thing I will say, there is quite a bit of construction going on right now on the Abernathy Bridge, which goes over the Willamette River from Oregon City to West Linn. That's going to be going on for a while and is creating quite the congestion in this area right now. When I looked this morning, there was 4 homes active on the market in Bolton, ranging from high 500s to one right around 900,000. That's also where the West Linn Library is. Definitely a great resource to check out. My kids have definitely benefited from it. In fact, I just bumped into one of the board members for the library recently at the pool, and he informed me that they have a program. Kids under 5 can essentially get as many free books, not just to borrow, but actually to keep. So a lot of great programs over in the West Linn Library in that Bolton neighborhood. Now, in between Bolton and the next neighborhood, which is Robinwood, you have really the biggest park in all of West Linn, which is Mary S. Young Park. Mary S. Young Park is one of my favorite parks. Definitely fits with the theme of being very, very wooded. To give you an idea, about a month or so ago there, just walking through there, I saw an owl. Not something you see very often, really anywhere in Oregon. So you can kind of see some random wildlife in there. You also have river access. There's a dog park. There's a bunch of fields down there where people are playing soccer and t-ball. It's 128 acres. What's also cool about that park is there's a lot of access for the people that live down in that neighborhood. So people that live in Bolton or Robinwood, you're not just limited to access at the front of the park where you drive in. There's a bunch of side trails that feed into Mary S. Young Park. That's going to be true for a lot of parks around West Linn, but more so for Mary S. Young because it's such a big park. So people living down in that area with all the parks and the trails and all the access and being so wooded, it really has a nature vibe to it. So moving on to Robinwood, moving towards Lake Oswego from Bolton, just a couple homes on the market right now sitting right about 900,000. Not going to be really a whole lot different than the Bolton neighborhood. You're going to find a wide variety of homes, from homes that kind of fall in that starter range to some very, very expensive homes. All right, now we're going to go drive through the Robinwood community. Going to see some older homes, you know, some mid-century stuff, some stuff that's going to fall closer to that average price point. There are homes here along the river as well. And I should mention, not every single home along the river is some multi-million-dollar, massive, 5,000 square foot property. You're going to find some pretty average homes along the river. There's probably still a few, because I can think of one on the other side in Milwaukee. There's at least still a few fixers on the river too. So if you want to find something and remodel, rebuild, make it your own, and be on the river, you might be able to find that as well. What do those look like? Like I said, not too many of those properties, but you might be able to get on the water with something that's a little bit older, just under 7 figures. Another alternative too might be, by the way, as you see the river peeking out there, these houses being right there on the river. Another alternative might be on the other side of the river. Real estate is less expensive over there in Milwaukee. Not going to be by a whole lot if you're still on the river, but maybe a cheaper alternative if you can't find what you want here in West Linn. And then finally, a couple small communities, Marylhurst and Skyline Ridge. If that name Marylhurst rings a bell to you, it's maybe because of the college. It was one of the oldest colleges in Oregon, or at least that I read online, that first started issuing degrees to people. It unfortunately had to shut down just due to lack of enrollment very recently. I think it was just 2 or 3 years ago that it shut down, but now it's being transformed into some affordable housing, which you won't find much of in this area. It's supposed to be 100 units completed here in the next few years. Beyond that, in the Marylhurst area, you've got Mary's Woods, which is where I'm at right now. You're gonna get a better feel for this with some drone footage, but this is all newer. There's still some open commercial space here, but all in all, this is a really quiet part of West Linn. So now we're directly above where I was just walking around. So this side of 43 and that highway right there, the few cars that you can see down there on that road, that's Highway 43. This side of the road is Robinwood. The other side of the road is where Marylhurst and that little tiny community of Skyline Ridge is. We're panning to the left, panning towards Bolton, Sunset, and where we just came from. A little bit more of a close-up here for you for the Marylhurst neighborhood. I think there's a few homes under contract in there right now, but don't typically tend to see a ton of activity in here. So usually not a whole lot of homes on the market. I might speculate that the demographic here is maybe a little bit older. Could be wrong about that. I don't know. I just don't maybe see as many kids as you do like up over on the hill in Savannah Oaks or Parker Crest, even Sunset, you know. So maybe not as many people moving in and out of this area. All right, now I mentioned I have a bonus for you. So if you're shopping for homes online, you're looking at that neighborhood, that map that I've referenced a few times. You might be shopping on Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, Redfin, whatever it may be, and you notice that there's actually some areas outside of those neighborhoods, right? And so the zip code for West Linn is 97068. If you go do a home search on one of your favorite home search sites, you're going to notice that that covers more than what we've covered here in this video. 2 specific areas. The first one is Pete's Mountain. And you're going to notice looking at a map that this is, you know, the green representing that a lot of this is rural, undeveloped, a lot of farmland, but also there's a lot of really incredible properties, estate style properties, equestrian type properties, a lot of stuff that's on like 2 to 5 acres, 5, 6, 7, 10,000 square feet type of thing. So Pete's Mountain is going to be the first one. And you get to that from where we started this video in Willamette. It's just over the Tualatin River. You go up the mountain, up Pete's Mountain, and you're going to find a handful of incredible houses. That's where Street of Dreams was recently. There's a winery at the very top called Tumwater. You also have Pete's Mountain Vineyard, as well as Campbell Lane is up there as well. So you've got a couple wineries and vineyards up there. Not going to find anything there under 7 figures. Everything there is going to be probably 1.5 to average maybe 3, 4, 5 or so. A typical like probably 5,000 square foot 2-acre home might be like mid 2s, like 2.5 or so in Pete's Mountain. And then beyond that, you have this area kind of like a quadrant between I-205 over where you see Shadowwood and Stafford, and then Rosemont, and then up into that neighborhood Savannah Oaks. All of that green area right there, there's also a ton of great properties, a ton of estate style properties there. I can think of a few trailblazers that recently sold homes there. That's also where Oswego Hills Winery is, which is a great little spot. A lot of people in West Linn like to enjoy that spot. It's actually even walkable for a lot of people, despite where it is on Rosemont Road, because we have a trail that goes all along Rosemont Road from West Linn all the way. You can actually get to Lake Oswego. So regardless of what you're looking for, whether it's at a starter price point, which like I said would be like the low 500s for West Linn. I've recently sold some of those properties in West Linn, all the way up to a luxury or estate style property. We help people at every price point. If you're thinking about taking the next steps, if you have questions, you can call, text, email, or click the link below in the description. I hope this video gave you a really, like I mentioned, I wanted it to be comprehensive sense, an overview of what West Linn is like and what the layout's like, what the neighborhoods are like. So I hope this video did that for you, and if it did, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, lets us know we're doing a good job. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, make sure and subscribe to us so you can get more videos like this. Until next time, take care everyone.